and it's our regular council meeting. We will call for a moment of reflection before we get into the approval of the agendas. So we'll start with that moment of reflection now. All right. For the approval of the agendas, we have two: a consent agenda. I'll request a motion from council to approve the consent agenda as presented, unless someone would like something pulled or commented on in the consent agenda. Councilman Teeth.
I would like to pull the women's shelter letter out into our regular agenda and maybe the kids first also.
Sorry, kids first as well, or just the one?
Same issue,
Okay.
different organization.
Okay. I would, and is that your motion? Approve the consent agenda while pulling those two items into the regular council packet?
Yes, that would be my motion.
All right, motion's on the floor. Any further discussion? Call the question, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. For the regular meeting agenda, along with the two additional items that were just requested to be added, any other additions, changes? See none, I'll call for a motion to approve the regular meeting package agenda as presented with the two items. Councillor Fox makes the motion. Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. For the good of council, does anyone have something they wish to share for the good of council? I know it was a busy weekend, so there should be lots to share. Councillor Patience.
Come on, there we go. It was a busy weekend. Kudos to the folks that put on the car show. I only kind of went by briefly, but it was like a good turnout and a good crowd, so nice afternoon for it. Quick update on our work with the U of L for the Environment Committee. We have our social science student in place and has been for some time, and she's gotten all her authorizations through the university and the province and is working avidly on the project as we speak. And they are still working on our archaeological student, but they do have 4 biology students that are prepping to start doing their work in July. So everything's rolling along nicely. I've passed on a contact list from committee members, people that have used the park or use the park, or people that are stakeholders in the community, etc. I haven't put any council members on that list. I figure either put all 7 or only put none. So we'll obviously all have our opportunity for a say-so when the time comes anyway. So anyway, just a quick update on that, and we've had a very good response from the people to interview. Everyone's been very cordial and very energetic about trying to help out, so it's been very good. And I do have one, and I don't know if this is the right place for this or not, so I want to thank Brennan. Oh, there he's hiding over here. When I went in and checked out the arena floor, that was very impressive construction. But I've been asked, and I asked actually that day too, when was the decision made to remove the bleachers on the east side of the arena? That must have happened before our election, because I certainly don't remember it. Was that a council decision? Because the public aware, I guess, is what I'm getting at with that.
Yeah.
Because it came as a surprise to me, and it came as a surprise to some other people.
It definitely didn't happen without some engagement. I just don't know to what degree now.
Okay.
Yeah, just from my knowledge, I know that that section of bleachers has not been used for public seating for a while. It's been the safety netting around the arena doesn't cover that side, and so spectators were not encouraged to sit over there. And so, and I also found out at that open house, but yeah, they're going to use it for storage and stuff too, and expanding of the players' boxes. So it'll be, I think it'll be put to a better use than unused bleachers.
Thanks, Counselor Poitras. I appreciate that. I just wasn't aware of it, and I just didn't know whether the public was aware of it either. So it came as a bit of a surprise to me, and hopefully it all goes well, because it's too late now because they're gone, obviously.
Well, that's right. Any other for the good of council? Councillor Fox?
So the Midnight Days Pro Rodeo is back, starting this Wednesday and running till Friday. Events all start at 6 p.m. Tickets are available at the gate. Wednesday, we also start off from 4 to 6 with Battle of the Bands, or Battle of the Businesses, sorry.
Yeah.
So that should be fun. And then Friday night, I believe we have our local group, Don't Tell Mama, coming Friday night. So there's a concert there as well.
Yeah, it should be very exciting. Any other thoughts, comments? Yeah, the arena floor was poured. Some of the council members were there last week, Thursday, to drop some coins at Sunrise. That was symbolic and reflective of some of the other rinks, and I think goes back to Salt Lake City summer or winter games and the Canadian that broke the ice in Salt Lake City. And other than that, I did attend an MOU meeting with regional partners with the Kainai Reservation or Nation, and that was very good. On Thursday, they did have a little flag raising with the Confederacy flag as well on Friday, so we attended there. It was good, some good discussions with the team there, and look forward to some more. And so, yeah, that was good. Any other comments for the good of council? Councillor Fox.
Last week, I got to celebrate with the Masons as they celebrated 140 years, their organization running here in Fort Macleod. So congratulations to them. 140 years is a long time to be running for a group like that.
Absolutely. And I will also mention June 13, I attended the graduation on behalf of the town of Fort Macleod and shared greetings to their class of 45 graduates. So that was really good to be able to see. It's always fun to connect with the teachers and get a sense of the character of each class that graduates. So it's fun to see. And congratulations to the parents and teachers as well. Councillor Orr.
I'm looking at my calendar and realizing that we don't have another meeting prior to July 1. And so I just wanted to make mention that the Fort Board and the staff there are working towards their July 1st celebrations. And I'm sure there'll be information posted in the paper probably next week, giving everyone an opportunity to participate in that annual celebration and event there.
Very good. All right, if that's all for the good of council, we'll move on to delegations, of which we have one tonight, and we'd like to welcome Chinook Arch Regional Library to our council meeting tonight to present. And we do look forward to hearing from you, Robin, as CEO, I believe. And look forward to hearing what the Chinook Arch Regional Library is all up to. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. My name is Robin Heffer. I'm the CEO of Chinook Arch Regional Library System, which is a library service organization of which the town of Fort Macleod is a part. The purpose of my presentation is simply to provide an update. Oh, great, thank you. on Shinnekarch and what we've been up to for the last little while, and for any new members of council that were just elected in the last municipal election, let you know what Shinnekarch is, how you fit into your local library service, and why you spend the funds to belong to this system. So I'm happy to answer any questions along the way if you like, or at the end if you prefer. I'll just general note about public libraries. We in the library world know, and I think a lot of people understand intuitively, that the public library is a very important part of the community. It serves a very broad swath of the community from birth until your very last days. And I don't think there's any other organization that has quite the reach of any public library. It was nice to have that confirmed. There was a study that was published in 2024 by an organization called the Canadian Urban Libraries Council, and they did a pretty in-depth research on the benefits of public libraries to the community. And what they found was that for every public dollar invested in public libraries, it generated $6 in economic and social benefit. So, and that sort of number has come up in a number of studies. This was Canadian. Typically, we've had to rely on American studies for those types of figures for the last number of years. But it was nice to have that confirmed for the Canadian landscape as well. As far as Shinnekarch is concerned, we exist basically to, make the dollars you invest in public libraries go even further by providing a framework for a collaboration on the delivery of library services with your municipal neighbors. So we are municipal membership-driven organization. You can see our sort of catchment area there on the sort of stylized map. Basically, we cover the southwest corner of the province, BC border to the west, US border to the south, and then MD-Tabor, Vulcan County, Willow Creek to the north. So 40 member municipalities. And yeah, we essentially provide a framework for you to work together with your municipal neighbors on the delivery of library services and sharing the costs of some of the essential library services that all libraries must have in order to offer services to the public. We're formed by an agreement between member municipalities, so that kind of lays out in broad strokes what aspects of library service the system is responsible for versus the local library board. And again, the goal is to make sure that no matter where you live in this part of the world, you have access to very high quality library services. And I'll talk a bit about some of those services in a moment. So the Shinnekarch Library Board is considered a public library board under the Libraries Act. We have our own act and regulation that governs our activities. It's a one member, one vote model. So each municipal council may appoint someone to the Shinnekarch Library Board. In your case, it's Councillor Monteith, who has been on our board, I think, for 6 years or so. And for that time has been our treasurer, which we greatly appreciate his expertise in helping us with our books and everything as well. So yeah, you do have quite a bit of involvement with the Shinnekarch Library Board through Councillor Monteith. Most councils do appoint a municipal councillor, but it's not a requirement. You can appoint anyone that you see fit. Can be an interested member of the community or someone from the local library board. It's really at your discretion. I mentioned earlier about the system agreement, which is the agreement that forms the system. As I said, it's kind of really broad strokes about which aspects of library service the system is responsible for versus the local library board. So every 4 years, we develop a plan of service. You've got a copy in the handout that I have given you there. That's this document. So we talk to our stakeholders basically and say, in these areas, how would you like us to invest our resources? And it allows us to put a bit of a finer point on how we support the libraries and how we help deliver services to members of the public and to member library boards. Our planning and budgeting cycles tend to coincide with municipal election cycles. That's always kind of worked well for us. So our current plan of service is 2023 through 2026. We'll actually be extending that for a year along with our current budget. Due to some things that have been happening with the city of Lethbridge, which we'll perhaps touch on in a little bit. But basically, they're adjusting their budget cycles, so we kind of need to follow suit as well. I'll talk a little bit about some of the services that we provide. So starting with bibliographic services, bibliographic being sort of a library jargony term referring to the items that appear on your local library shelves. Centralized ordering, cataloging, and processing of materials. If there are items that your local library staff or librarian would like to have on your local shelf, rather than your local library staff having to maintain vendor relationships and do all of the accounting and everything like that, that's required to order and process and catalog materials. All they have to do is simply send a list of titles or materials to Shinnekarch, and we will source them at the best possible price, and the items come to Shinnekarch. We make them shelf ready, put the stickers on them, put them in protective cases if need be, and then we send them out to your local library for distribution to the public. So we don't tell we don't tell the library boards what they should purchase for the collection. That's a local decision, but once they've decided, we do the ordering for them. So every year we spend about $700,000 to $800,000 in library materials on behalf of the libraries. And so by pooling that collective buying power, it basically extends your local library's collection budget by about 40% because we get those bigger discounts because we're a larger account with the wholesalers. As a result of your membership in Shinnekarch, there are $2 per capita that comes back to your library board that you can spend or they can spend on library materials. So, and that just guarantees that every member library within the system has some funds in proportion to their population to spend on library materials, helps to keep the collection growing, allow libraries to buy current materials that the public is wanting to read. We have an extensive IT network, so every library in the system, there's 35 service points within the system, are connected by the Alberta SuperNet. So we deliver a bunch of services over the SuperNet. We really use the SuperNet a lot for a variety of different things. So email service, the software that manages the check-in, check-out of the library materials, internet service, we're their internet service provider for your library, which basically means that as a library board, they don't have to go out and deal with a TELUS or a Rogers to get internet service. It's provided through the system as part of your membership levy. Lately, we've expanded into providing telephone services as well. I'm not sure off the top of my head if Fort Macleod is on that service, but for a lot of libraries, it's meant the telephone bill has gone from $200 a month down to $20 a month. So because we provide that service on a cost recovery basis. So that has saved our member libraries collectively $20,000 a year, which is not a small amount at all, especially for smaller communities. We also have an IT help desk, so if there's something goes wrong with any of the technology that's in the librarian doesn't have to track down a local person to provide that support. We have technicians that will come out, fix the computer, and then get it back up and running. Let's see. We call a member support department. So we have a few librarians on staff, and their whole job is just to essentially support your local library board and your local library staff with any aspect of library operations. So especially in a smaller community, sometimes it's hard to find someone to work in the library that has previous library experience or library training. So we make sure that when they join the library, they get the training they need, they learn the software, basic principles of librarianship. We'll help them with any aspect of board governance as well, so policy development, budget development. One area we focus on a lot is strategic planning. So every library has to do, by law, a strategic plan every 4 years. And so we help them with things like community consultations, help them make sure that their plans of service are realistic and focused on the community needs. This day and age, a lot of library users are preferring to read on digital devices. So whether that's laptop or telephone or cell phone or pads or iPads and that kind of thing. We want to make sure that libraries are able to provide that service and be in that space where people are wanting to borrow stuff through the library rather than through a commercial service, say like Audible or Amazon and that kind of thing. So if you go to the Shinnekarch website or the Fort Macleod Library, you can download for free ebooks, audiobooks. There are online courses, streaming video, all kinds of resources that are available for free with your library membership. And Shinnekarch provides those services. They're quite expensive services, and they would be cost prohibitive for any smaller library to do alone. In fact, even the city of Lethbridge would have a very difficult time trying to provide those services to their residents without this collaborative aspect. Delivery. So even though every library within the system is independently governed, they've all agreed to share their collections with each other. So if you live in Fort Macleod and the title that you want is in Pincher Creek or in Lethbridge or Coots, you simply place a hold on it through the library website, and our vans will go out and fetch the item from the owning library, bring it to your home library. You can read it, return it to your home library, and then re-return it to the owning library once you've completed your time with that item. So it's when I tell people that I work at Shinnekarch, that's usually that's the service that they're most aware of, because they go to the library to pick up a book and it has the name stamped on it from a different library. So It really gives Fort Macleod residents access to, rather than just what's in your local library, about 800,000 items that are held in the collection of all the libraries in the system. So, and people do use that here. I have a little stat. So, in 2025, there were almost 70,000 items checked out from the Fort Macleod Library, and just over 25,000 of those items came from other libraries in the system. So. You've got a lot of avid readers in this community. They know how to use the hold, place to hold function, and they have a lot of stuff delivered to the local library. So again, and that just has the effect of extending your local collections through sharing. Talk briefly about funding and budget. So our annual budget is about $4 million. Most of our revenue on the top chart there comes from member levies, and I'll talk about that in just a sec. There's also a big chunk, the red chunk on the top pie chart there is a provincial operating grant. So we get about $1 million a year from the provincial government. That's one of the incentives for forming a regional library system, is that it actually brings in a whole extra layer of granting from the provincial government that we can each share to elevate the level of library service available locally. On the expenses side, you can see that our biggest expense is, as typical for libraries, salaries and benefits. We also do a tremendous amount of purchasing on behalf of the library. So fully 1/4 of our expenses are money or is purchasing that we are doing for the library. So that's library materials, as well as things like computers and other IT equipment that libraries can purchase through us. For the same reason they buy library materials through us, is that you can get it cheaper, you can get it faster, and higher quality material as well. So the funding model is that it's a per capita levy. So the process normally is the Shinnecock Library Board will approve a per capita levy. And in order for that levy to take effect, it has to be approved by 2/3 of member councils representing 2/3 of the total service population. So right now, 27 councils representing about 127,000 people have to approve any change to the levy. So what that effectively means is that the city of Lethbridge has a venue, or a venue, what's the word I'm looking for? Veto, thank you. Gee, I knew it started with V. Has a veto over any levy request, and because without them, they can't make up the population component that's required. So at the August meeting of the Shinnecock Library Board, the board did approve raising the levy to $817 per capita from $776, where it's been for a number of years. The city of Lethbridge appears at this point to be poised to not approve that. I think it'll make it official tomorrow. And so that means that likely going into 2027, the levy for all members will remain at $776 per capita. Yeah, the levy is tied to population, so we use the most current population as published by Municipal Affairs. Highlight some of these I might have touched on a little bit already. So almost 600,000 items moving from library to library in 2025, 40,000 plus new items added to the shared catalog. We're seeing a large increase in the online reading aspect. So using the Overdrive ebook and audiobook services that we provide has been going up 15% year over year. Fort Macleod is actually closer to 25%. So you've got some real uptake happening in your community on the digital reading side of things. So there's been a real surge in interest in audiobooks broadly in the culture. Looking forward, as I mentioned, we're extending our current plan of service through 2027. Because our funding has been static for the last few years, we've had to defer some of the items in our plan of service. Hopefully we can get to some of those in the next 18 months or so. The 1-year levy request looks like it will not go through. But we're hoping to submit a new 4-year levy request for the 2028 through 2031 budget. So you may see another levy request coming through about this time next year from the Shinnecock Library Board. And I think that about concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much for the presentation. And yeah, it's a critical programming for our community, and I know a lot of people that use it, and it's located really well and it's used very well. So definitely appreciate the service that is provided through the Shinnecock. Does council have any questions for presenter Robin?
I will, well, people are
Gotta
considering,
have
I will mention that I did invite your local librarian to join me tonight. It's sometimes nice to You know,
Yeah,
if you have questions about your local library service, she's
Sure.
best, positioned to answer them, but she was on vacation, so unable to make
Okay,
it. So,
no worries.
but
That's okay.
we do work very closely together. And
We
we do
have
have a fantastic librarian. She's very, very dedicated and a really active library board as well. And they've been very entrepreneurial.
Councillor Fox is the board member, president with the library board locally. So that's. Any comments, questions, anything you wanted to highlight, Councillor Monteith? How is the financial aspect going with regards to Shinnecock?
Well, you've heard me rant and rave about City of Lethbridge and turning down the levy. I'll just go through a little more detail. In the levy used to be $8.17, and then COVID hit, and our expenses went way down. So we said, okay, we'll be nice. We'll reduce the levy. And then the next year was sort of the same, so we kept it the same. And then the next year, when we came for an increase, City of Lethbridge says no. So the lesson is, don't reduce your revenue or your sales figures or whatever, because it comes back to bite you. Now, with the budget problems the City of Lethbridge has, it could be a while before they even consider it. So when you're thinking of the City of Lethbridge, think about that and their support for them. So that's a pretty biased opinion, but I think it's true.
Yeah, so I think for the city of Lethbridge, that's about a $50,000 increase. Is that what that
It would have been a
Amounts to?
$43,000 per year
increase?
increase. Yeah. So, and I don't want to, I don't want to make it sound like we're ungrateful for this city's membership. They are, they're responsible essentially for 50% of our overall revenue. But it is definitely, they are also, on the other hand, only 50%, right? There are 39 other councils that have generally been very supportive of the levy request that we have made. So it is sort of looking like the city's financial challenges are sort of kind of hamstringing our ability to improve our services to everyone in the region. So yeah, there's definitely some tension there, and it's we're not sure exactly what the path out of it is.
And the levy has to be equal with all communities, or could there be a maximum for a specific community based on size? Because I know with other groups we've been part on, we've maxed their contributions just because at some point the economies of scale
Yeah.
for the city probably don't change as much as they would for a smaller town.
That's a good question, and I've had that one at a couple of councils. I think, the entire model of the system is that everyone pays in proportion to their population. So I think if there was a differential levy or someone was paying more, I think the long-term risk might be significant. It might sort of like foster some divisions or what have you. Like, it wouldn't take much for, like, maybe current councils would say, like, we're fine to pay more than the city of Lethbridge, but there's always another election and it might become an issue down the line, and then we are sort of end up looking like we're playing favorites and that kind of thing. So I think that, part of it right now, I think our challenge is to spend the next year and a half working with city council, articulating the benefit, explaining the relative low cost. I mean, it's really a small ticket item on, a budget of that size. $40,000 is really not very much. I think it was 0.002% in terms of like a overall tax increase for the average household. So, really insignificant. And I think the other thing is, like, we're going to have to start looking. Councillor Monteith didn't really mention, but we have been drawing down our reserves over the last couple of years to make ends meet and to make capital purchases as well. And we haven't been able to replenish those reserves. Costs. We buy a delivery van about every 2 years, and since COVID, they've gone from $30,000 a piece to, well, we just got a new quote today, and the MSRP for 2027 extended wheelbase delivery van is $78,000. So we've had reserves for that we've been drawing down, and we haven't been able to replenish over the last couple of years. So those are some of the challenges, and it will come to the point where we'll have to look at which services are sustainable for us, or will we have to.
Sorry, is Lethbridge more than 50%?
It's basically right at 50%.
So you almost think you have to maximize any single membership at 49, otherwise it's kind of like in a business. As soon as you're 50% or more, you have majority shares and you can decide whatever you want.
Yeah.
So in
Yeah.
some ways, I think you do need to balance that out somehow.
There has been talk about looking at the agreement. So the agreement has been in place since 1992 in basically the same form. And at that time, there was a city of Lethbridge and there were only 20 other councils, I think. There were 22 signatories to the initial agreement. And now there are 40. So it may have at that time seemed like, maybe there was the risk seemed at that time more that the smaller councils would gang up on Lethbridge somehow, right? So it kind of gave the city, and there was also quite a bit of goodwill at that time. There wasn't much money. I mean, this was sort of the height of Ralph Klein and everything. There was like a lot of public retrenchment and there wasn't a lot of public money floating around. And Shinnecock was actually started without any new investment from the province. They took money from other library systems and gave it to us, which I think they're finally over. But anyway, it was just the way that it was at that time. So, but it may be time to look at the actual structure of the agreement and see if it still makes sense in the current context with population being split basically 50-50. I'm sure at that time it was probably 70-30 or something like that. So
Okay.
The tricky thing is that to change the agreement, we have to meet that same threshold of the 2/3 of councils representing 2/3 of the population. So
Yeah, I imagine they would, yeah.
they would have a veto on
Yeah.
a new agreement that wasn't favorable to them as well.
Yeah.
So
It almost needs a tie vote in there because it seems like you got a group versus a group and there's no one breaking the tie.
yeah, it is coming up. Like I haven't seen it discussed. Like I know it's come up at Mayors and Reeves. I think there are some members of on our board that are also on Mayors and Reeves, and they've been quite vocal that
Yeah, and the mayor didn't receive that too well, some of the vocal antagonism against the city of Lethbridge. So I think
Yeah.
it needs to be treated a little better than it was at the Mayors and Reeves I was at.
yeah, I think some of our spokespeople are not pulling punches at this point. So
Yeah.
I should be clear, we didn't ask them to do that. They're doing this of their
Yeah.
own volition. But
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
you have to get your messaging a little cleaner because I think some of that, if you got 10 people trying to get to the mayor
Yeah.
or to the city of Lethbridge, that can cause some problems.
yeah, you don't want to poke the bear too much for sure.
Sure.
So yeah.
Any other questions for Shinnecock? Administration's all good? Okay, well, we want to thank you for coming tonight and presenting to council. If we have any questions, we know how to get a hold of you.
You sure do. Yeah, I
And
appreciate your
we
time.
wish you all the best locally and regionally.
Yep, thank you so much.
And,
We'll get it sorted out. I'm
Oh,
sure.
yeah, I'm sure you will.
Yeah, appreciate your time this evening and all the
All
best.
right.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you very much. All right, with delegations done for tonight, we will move on to unfinished business, of which we have one. We would like to ask our CAO, Anthony Burdett, to present again the request from Connie War Veteran Society.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Good evening. So we were able to gather a little bit of additional information from the initial letter that we received requesting some funds for the Pecani War Veterans Society Monument project. So in the letter included in the package, I'll highlight just a few things. So they are looking at making a large granite monument to recognize the veterans from World War I, World War II, the Korean War, and the war in Afghanistan. A couple of the challenges that they're facing are just the general costs. The total budget of $131,000. They do have a grant of 50 or expense reimbursement of up to $50,000. And interestingly, that they have to put French on it. I thought that was kind of an interesting detail because it's going to be an official Canadian monument, so it'll have to be in English and French. And so they're requesting the money. They haven't requested a certain sum from the town, but they're requesting that if we, given that we are neighbors and have members of that community in our community, that they're requesting some funds. I'll draw attention to the financial implications on the second page there, that out of council's budgeted donations and gifts account, there's approximately $2,200 left that's not accounted for this year. But yeah, all the information there is included. If you have any questions, I will do my best to answer those. Otherwise, it's up to council to determine if and how much council would be willing to donate to the Piikani War Veterans Monument. Thank you.
All right, thank you for collecting that additional information. Does council have a willingness to make a motion regarding this subject matter? I don't believe administration's made a firm recommendation. Councillor Patience, do you?
Yeah, I
have
don't,
a-
I don't want to make a motion just yet, but I do have a question if I
Yeah,
might,
go ahead.
Mayor
Yeah,
Fraser.
for sure.
So underneath this, there's there's two sections here that suggest how much money we have left in the council account. So right underneath the letter from the society president, it says we have $2,200 left. But the next page says we have 29, and I realize it was before the Junior Royals, but there's also a Chamber Gala sponsorship on there that's not on the list that says $2,200. So I'm a little confused how much money we actually have left in that account.
Okay. Yeah. So the original one from the May meeting is the one that said we had 2,900 left. I'm not sure why the Chamber Gala amount isn't on the second breakdown. I'll have to discuss this with Lisa and determine if that is no longer included or if something was changed there. But I'll have to get further information on. She manages that account.
Okay, thank you. I was a little confused. I still am, I guess, but we've got 2,200 or less.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
So I know this is a bit of a tough one. We'd like to be regional and collaborative. It's in my mind, I don't know how they're going to get a large granite monument built for that price, because that seems like a big monument for that dollar value. I'm concerned a bit of budget overruns and what that means. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure where council wants to take this. So if someone's prepared to make a motion, if there's no motion made, then it would be deferred to a future council meeting or whenever it comes back to council. Councilor Orr.
Yeah, having reviewed the letter and the further information that was provided, given the nature of what they're trying to do there and the monument that they're looking to build and how it's representative of not only the contributions of those from their nation, but also the contributions to Canada as a whole and in many respects the world as a whole, I would like to be able to provide some donations, something positive towards them. For me, it's just a question of amount. If there are concerns about whether or not they're actually going to be able to pull it together and complete this, I think that it would be easy to make sure that the monies are not donated until it's actually concluded that the construction is going to go ahead. So yeah, it would be a pledge, and I'm looking at the amount of about $1,000 at least. So that's kind of where I sit with this at this point. If there's some further discussion, I'd be prepared to make a motion along those lines, but I'll put that out there for others to consider.
Yeah, probably if you're so inclined, you can make a motion and then council can have some debate and discussion on it.
Okay, then I'm prepared to make that motion that we be prepared to donate $1,000 as requested, subject to verification that the monument will actually go ahead and be completed, that they're able to do the other things.
The motion's been tabled, $1,000, subject, as a pledge upon completion.
Yeah.
Councillor Fox.
Just doing the math between the two letters here, if everything that we're presented is correct with the additional $800, that leaves us with $1,400 for the remainder of the year. So if we did the $1,000, that would leave us with $400.
And is that an argument against the motion or for the motion or point of information?
That's not really for or against, it's just for information.
Okay. Any other discussion or questions?
I appreciate what Councilor is doing. I feel comfortable with a lower amount because, as Councilor Fox just brought up, we're only still in June. That really is going to leave us with a very tiny budget for whatever comes up locally for the rest of the year as well. I might, yeah, this is a tough one. It crosses some boundaries of politics and people, etc., right? And if the city asked us for that, would we contribute to one in the city of Lethbridge for, it gets complicated and difficult, right? I think they're our neighbors and we want to create obviously good relations, but 1,000 based on what we've already allocated might be a little much for my taste, honestly.
So do you have a suggestion for the mover of the motion? 500? Okay. It could be a friendly amendment or it can be a motion to amend the motion.
I didn't catch, was an amount put forward? My primary motivation is that there be some contribution made. And I put out the number as something to discuss. If council feels like a lower amount is what needs to happen, then that's the move. I'd be willing to accept that friendly amendment, but I would definitely look to.
Yeah, would you accept the friendly amendment of 500?
If that's the difference between a contribution being made
Yeah.
or not, then
Yeah, I only
Accept
throw that
that,
out just
so
because we only have $400
perhaps can we
left,
hear
which is,
other councillors and what they feel on
Yeah,
it
for sure.
before we make a decision on that?
Okay. Any other comments on the motion? Discussion, debate? Councillor Poitras?
Yeah, I've shared the same concerns that have been expressed. I think that this is a good opportunity for us to build some relations and strengthen those ties. And I think, this is obviously honoring and memorializing our war veterans, especially those from the Indigenous community, is a worthy cause. I agree with Councillor Patience. It does get a little complicated when these funds go outside our community. But having said all that, I am comfortable with the friendly amendment of $500.
Any other comments, questions, discussion? So back to the mover. Did you want to make amendment or leave your motion as you have it?
If the other three councillors aren't going to comment on it, then it looks like I would be open to a friendly amendment to $500, and then we can put it to a vote.
Yeah, in some ways you hope it doesn't come as an insult.
Well,
it's
that's
a
a
big-
consideration as well.
It's a big
And that's-
investment and $500 is a token. So it's your call as mover, if you'd like to keep the motion as you have it.
Well, if it's between giving nothing or giving $500, then I would look to give $500,
Okay.
but the other councillors haven't spoken on that yet.
Councillor Fox?
Just thinking ahead, would we be able to do 500 this year so we don't leave ourselves short, and then maybe 500 in the next budget after the project's completed? Or does that get tricky?
I think it could work. That could be a friendly moment, 50% this year and 50% next year.
Do we make motions on spending next year's budget this year?
Defer to next year, but it would be part of our deliberations when we set next year's budget. It's still a pledge.
Councillor Monti?
Sorry, Councillor Monti?
I think 500 would be the minimum, and I'm comfortable with 1,000. If we run out of budget, we can always make a motion to do that. So that doesn't intimidate me. So I'm in agreement with the 1,000.
Okay. Any other comments, Councillor Patel? I'm not gonna leave you silent on this one. You gotta chime in.
I'm good with $500. Thank you.
All right. Councillor Poitras?
Yeah, I was kind of initially thinking of around the $1,000 mark, so $500 or $1,000, I'd be good with either of those.
Okay. Councillor Fox?
I was okay with the 1,000. That's why I figured if we were struggling, we could split it between the 2 years.
Okay.
I will
Your
read
original
read my
motion
original
is
motion
left.
on the floor.
Okay. Good discussion, y'all. This is fun. All right, so the motion is on the floor for $1,000 donation to the Pecani War Museum or War Veterans Society. And if there's no further discussion or debate, I will call the motion to question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to new business, year-to-date operations, more than enough for our information. We'll ask our Director of Finance, Chris Holback, to present an operational report.
Thank you, Mayor Fader. Good evening, Council. It is Q2 2026, and here is our year-to-date operational report for the town of Fort McLeod. It has the 2026 budget, the 2026 actual, the variance in both dollars and percentages. I did put comments beside the items that I thought might council might have some questions regarding, but I know that you guys go through it quite intricately, and you might have additional questions that I didn't put down pre-answers for, so I will take all comments from an overall perspective. Revenues are coming in as they should, taxes, utilities. A lot of our expenses go out monthly, wages. We get a little bit busier in the summer with supplies, roads. All the departments are a little bit busier in the summer, so expenses do go up a little bit in the summer. So you can't really rely on maybe them only spending 25% of a budget for a line item, because sometimes departments are busy and don't spend their budgets until things get a little bit more quieter in the fall and the winter. So I think I put down the things that I was most concerned the council was going to ask questions about, but I will take questions as always. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. Can this be put on the big screen too? Any questions from council on the year-to-date financials for Q2 2026? There's some comments. Councillor Monteith.
I have two questions. Is the reason landfill charges are at 68% because of our roundup in June? And also facility remediation. When's that happening, and remind me what it's for?
So I'm going to have to invite our Director of Operations, Brennan Orr, up to the microphone to have a discussion with the rest of us. Thank you.
Good call, Director of Finance.
I believe your first question was about the Willow Creek landfill. So there was additional costs at the beginning of the year as we cleaned up the compost site. So we did have higher numbers, and I believe that that's where those were coming from. So we will have to look at that kind of as we move forward. Yeah, trees and other materials, yep.
And then the second question was on
Facility remediation,
which page was that on?
remediation, sorry. What buildings and when's that happening?
Page.
They all say page 1. I know, sorry. It's near the end. It's in the facilities budget, so It's the second last page. And it's the last line item. If you look on the screen, it's called Facilities Remediation and Demolition. And that's what Councillor Monteith is asking about.
Okay, so I think we have gone through this, Chris, you and I. So this was originally put in place for the demolition of the cadet hall. And so there was money in here for that, as well as some costs for the asbestos studies that we are also looking at to do this year, and that will support in some of our budgeting for next year. So, sorry, what was your question, I guess, about that line item?
I guess when are they doing the cadet hall, I guess would be the bottom line.
Okay, so originally we had this cost because we did have a budgetary number for that, and it was around the $80,000, if I remember correctly. What we did was we had another organization come in, and they're doing a takedown of that building. So it is taking place right now. We're expecting that work to be done by the end of July, and then that cost will be more around the $30,000 range.
Any other questions on the financial report for Q2? Councillor Patience?
Yeah, just one, and sorry, Chris, you maybe answered this for me before, but the housing support expenses, we have no budget, but we spent $14,000 already. Could you explain that?
So for FCSS programs, they are fully grant funded. So we do not put a budget in because they mill out. So they accumulate expenses for a quarter, and then we bill the province or the organization, and we get the money back. So by the end of the year, it's done. And if there's any little bits of deficits or surplus within FCSS or any of its programming, it goes in or out of the FCSS reserve.
Thank you very much. There's no further discussion. I'll call for a motion to accept as information. Councillor Patience makes that motion. There's no other discussion. We'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Item 2 under new business is some correspondence we got from the women's shelter in Pinch Creek regarding budget cuts they're experiencing. And the information was sent. What was not in your package, I did get another email from them last week at some point. I don't know if I believe Anthony was on that email as well. And Lisa, I'm not sure if that information is not in your package, but we can make sure that gets to you as well. Just before I asked you for some comments, Councillor Monteith, I did, and when I emailed them back, I asked them for what was the official communication they got from the province regarding why the funding changes, and that was not sent to us. So I believe it is out there. I just have not seen it yet. So that's something I want to ask from them, is a little bit more clarification on the reasoning behind the funding changes, but I'll pass it over to you, Councillor Monteith, if you would like to make a motion or provide some other feedback.
Okay, be ready for a rant here. I've dealt with the women's shelter for decades, was their auditor for over 20 years, so I know the organization, and it's a service that relates to Fort Macleod because we're in their area. But on the broader picture, I think we should be writing a letter. But what I don't understand is how the province can spend millions of dollars on referendums and lawsuits and whatever, yet they're cutting funding to shelters, to AISH, to the Kids First, other organizations of people who really need it. And I just think it's really wrong. So I agree with Brent, we get the information and then we write a letter stating what we think. I think the same thing for Kids First, and I know Lisa was going to talk to people about that so she had more information because Rotary got the same letter and I hate to respond without getting all the information. But I think it's incumbent on us to make sure that the services are available in our town because it's bad enough that we have limited services, but when they cut the services that are available, then that's not right. So I feel quite strongly in that. So I would make a motion, respond to it once we get a little bit more information.
Okay, so I think we can still draft a response. Obviously, we're concerned. Like, we don't want to see the women's shelter shut down or negatively impacted. The reasoning behind it, if there needs to be, in chatting with our MLA when she was in town on Saturday, I did ask her about this, and she mentioned with a women's shelter, especially a women's shelter, the level of safety and security construction required for a women's shelter, including bulletproof glass and such, is what is behind a lot of the requests. Because if it's not being performed as an emergency shelter to protect those that are inside, then it's hard for the province to fund it at the level that it's supposed to be funded. So to have that in writing would be different, but I believe there is that reasoning behind it is it's the building is not at a level that it needs to be in order to receive the funding that they're getting. So that's in simple ways how I heard what was said, but I don't have that in writing.
I'm going to support. I can get
We're not debating right now. I think, yeah. You pull it away from the.
check. That doesn't make a lot of sense. So, because the building doesn't have bulletproof glass, it's safer for these women and their children in domestic abuse situations to be on the street or at home. That is a bit of an odd take. Sorry.
No, I hear you. Like, you think something else is better than nothing. So I don't question that. I just don't know how that's been communicated or what the process behind that was. So I'm all for writing a letter. We can write it to our MLA in support of the shelter and asking even for clarification on the reasoning why the funding was cut so that we can, and we can also ask the association for whatever communication they've had with the province regarding this, because it's not been a short time. My understanding is that the communication's been going on. So is that your motion, Councillor Monteith? Do you want to make a motion now?
I definitely want to make the motion
And the motion is?
that we write a letter to the government protesting the reduced funding and that it should be, the funding should be moved back to what it was before.
Okay. No clarification of any details.
Well, I'm sure we'll get back a bland letter telling us nothing but justifying their position. So I think we send the letter.
Just supporting the
Just supporting
function
it
of the
because-
organization.
Exactly. I mean, the government hasn't exactly been coming forward with increases funding to these organizations. So cutting it just seems to be, that much more heartless.
So the motion's on the floor to present a letter to our MLA and to the governments in charge of the ministry of that organization to demand, request funding be reinstated.
So just for
And-
clarification, that's a letter to our MLA or to the minister or in response to this, is it a letter to the organization with copies to these? I'm just
I think
asking. I'm
you,
fully supportive of
yeah,
both, or
I think it would be to the ministry first while CCing the organization, the MLA, and anyone else involved.
Premier also?
And if we have any stats of usage within the town of Fort Macleod, I don't know how they do that, if there is such a thing, but obviously it means something to the town of Fort Macleod and having something. And in some ways, it'd be good for the association to come to present to council as well. I've not heard a presentation from them. I don't know how they function, and perhaps council would be interested in that as well.
They do keep stats of where people are from. And the last stats I heard was quite a while ago, but there were a minimal amount from Fort Macleod, but there was a lot from Brockett.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't change the way I feel about it, but
No, for sure.
that's just what it was before. And I doubt it's changed much, but it might have.
Councillor Orr?
I as well was anxious to bring this into today's business and feel much like Councillor Monteith. The letter says that they're, exploring and looking for alternate sources of funding, implying that they'd like us as a municipality to donate more. And so as part of this letter, I think there needs to be raised, it's another downloading of provincial expenditures onto municipalities, and so that side of it, I would ask to also be included in the letter, but I fully support the motion.
All right, the motion's on the floor. Any further discussion or debates? Seeing none, we'll call the motion to question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. And next, we have a similar item with regards to Kids First Family Center. And a letter that was addressed to the town May 27, regarding funding reductions to Kids First Family Center by 88% of operating funding. And yeah, I don't know their financial statement or their income versus revenue and what this means as a whole, but perhaps Anthony, you can share with us a little bit more.
I don't have a lot of answers, but both of these were included in today's package, kind of as information, as we are also seeking additional information. I know Lisa has been in touch with Kids First Family Center, just to gather more about, what level of funding are we looking at, like as far as total budget costs and expenditures. So we are hopeful that with some additional information, it'll be easier for us to understand it better and then take a better position on it.
Would you suggest on this one that we defer to next council meeting once we have more information gathered?
I think that would be appropriate.
Councillor Monteith, would you be?
Yeah, that is fine, because I was looking for more information too, because I think part of the reduction in funding is there used to be a hub for other groups, and it's my understanding that they can't do that anymore. They don't have the staffing, so that's part of it. But if it's a large part of it, how does the organization survive? So we do definitely need more information on that.
So can we make a motion then to defer to a future council meeting for council consideration? Councillor Orr makes that motion. If there is no further discussion on the motion, we'll call it to question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. And that does conclude the public portion of our meeting tonight. We'll call for a motion to go in camera. We have, I believe it was 3 items to discuss in camera. And so I'll call for that motion now. Councillor Fox makes the motion. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you very much.